This edition of Tru Heel Heat is brought to you by Mission Pro Wrestling. Mission Pro Wrestling Tournament Out of Hell is coming up on November 6th. Get your tickets now on missionprowrestling.net. If you're not able to be in the Texas area on November 6th, you can stream it live on Title Match Wrestling Network. Without further ado, this is Tru Heel Heat.
Hello. It is me, your Tru Heel Phenom, SP3. We are back once again with a brand new podcast. We are on the road to Tru Heel Heat 100 with Tru Heel Heat 96. On this edition of Tru Heel Heat, we will be discussing the latest wrestling news, including the fallout from the WWE Draft, including the split of one of the most popular groups in WWE history this past week in the G1 Climax 30 as the standings take shape with one more weekend to go. Fallout from GCW The Collective this past weekend, including a new virus outbreak in professional wrestling, a public dispute, and a speaking out allegation, week 50 of the Wednesday Night Wars, and a preview of the final weekend. It's been one whole month of the G1 Climax 30. I am back once again with the resident Tru Heel alcoholic, the president of Titan Nation. This is Top Guy JJ.
That's right, baby. Tighten up, motherfuckers. We stomp the bills out like a government motherfucking mule, baby. Bitches.
That was a big one, I gotta say.
Did you see how Derrick Henry threw Josh Norman like a fucking feather? That shit was amazing. Oh, I know this is a wrestling podcast, but that shit was fucking amazing.
We apologize for that Titan break, but our princess of all the Tru Heels, Miss Chrissy Love, can't we be with us for Tru Heel Heat 96? So we brought in a pinch hitter. He is the host of Dark Power, reviewing AEW Dark, UWN Primetime Live, and Impact Wrestling every single week on the Tru Heel Heat YouTube channel. He is the Tru Heel's resident beat maker and lawyer extraordinaire. He is the one, the only, the man of many numbers, the man of 1,000 numbers, StatKing.
Glad to be back. Thank you guys for having me, Chrissy, wherever you are, whatever's going on. I hope everything works out, and can't wait to have you back on Tru Heel.
It is amazing to have you back on here, John. I mean, this is what, maybe like your 5th episode of Tru Heel Heat that you've been on? Yeah. But you are definitely not an upgrade from Chrissy. Like you miss my baby already, Chrissy. You know we miss you. We love you, and I just can't wait to have you back as this road to 100 continues. Great to have you on, but it's definitely a spot missing right now.
That's fair.
Yes, we miss Chrissy Love, but we are very happy to have the StatKing with us. He is the member of the Tru Heel Heat YouTube channel that's been on Tru Heel Heat the most from his times in Chicago, as well as joining us previously when we had Steve Tortorello from Warrior Wrestling. So we are glad to have you back. We have to start out this Tru Heel Heat with some sad news, another loss from the wrestling community in 2020. So we want to send our condolences to the family and friends of British wrestler Ryan Smile. He passed away this week after a bout with mental illness, and a lot of allegations that came out in front of him earlier this year is something that he couldn't deal with. So we want to send our deepest condolences to his friends and family. But on a brighter note, this edition of Tru Heel Heat 96 is brought to you by our good friends over at Wrestling Travel. You know the good brother, the Clap Man, Justin Clapper, over there on their YouTube channel with the Lockdown Sessions. Also Danny of their podcast and the Lockdown Sessions. A shout out to them. Also, this Tru Heel Heat is brought to you by our newest sponsored promotion, Mission Pro Wrestling. Mission Pro Wrestling Tournament Out of Hell is coming up on November 6th, and we start off this Tru Heel Heat with a huge thanks to Alex McCarthy McCarthy and Stephanie Chase for Tru Heel Heat 95. It was our first time with two huge guests on the show, and it's probably one of my favorite episodes of 2020. We had a lot to juggle with so much news and to esteem guests from the wrestling media, wrestling journalism community out in the UK. So we are very happy with that episode and very happy with their contribution. And speaking of Alex McCarthy, a huge announcement came this week. Myself, SP3, the Tru Heel Phenom, will be one of the co-hosts with Alex McCarthy on Wrestling Daily, which is a part of Wrestle Talk's Wrestle 2 YouTube channel, and it's going to kick off this coming Tuesday, October 20th. I will be on Wrestling Daily with Alex McCarthy every single Wednesday on the Wrestle 2 YouTube channel, so you guys definitely go check that out. You can see that YouTube channel on our front page, and you need to subscribe there to see me on Wrestle 2 with Alex McCarthy. It's an interactive chat show, so we're going to be talking about all of the latest wrestling news every single day on the show, and you guys can get involved by sending us a 30-minute clip with your most unpopular, or as you remember our segment, heated opinion on professional wrestling, and we will present it on that show. It's interactive, so it's going to take a lot of you guys to be a part of it, but I am very happy to be a part of Alex McCarthy's Wrestling Daily.
It's amazing stuff there, brother. I mean, you listen, man, to give you a lot of shit, your opinions don't become any better with this promotion, but this is really awesome, and I love the fact that the Tru Heels is expanding, got the connection with the UK going. Yes, Alex and Stephanie brought so much to the show last week. It was a phenomenal thing to see. Now that you're actually partners with them, it's a good thing to see, my brother, and I'm happy for you, man. I can't wait to see where this thing goes. Doesn't make your opinions any better, but you know, proud to see this.
Yeah, congratulations, Sid. And guys, we are going to be relying on all of our Tru Heels to make sure that that interactive nature is got a little bit of heel heat behind it. So remember, make sure to send in those videos. Sid's going to be counting on them.
Absolutely, you are 100% right. I thank you guys for that, and not so much for my opinion, but as you've said many times, Top Guy JJ, I watch way too much professional wrestling, and I think that's why I got chosen for this position.
And piggyback, honestly, man, like I honestly, you know, I again give you a lot of shit, but those, if you haven't checked them out, this guy's Sports Keto articles are something to read. Them shits are phenomenal. Like he I don't know. It's like if he just sticks to typing and putting shit in pen and paper, it sounds so much better. But when it actually vocalizes, I don't know where the fucking dynamic changes, but it is so much better when it comes to paper. I swear to God, these articles are something special.
Yes, I want to also start off this Tru Heel Heat by shouting out Santana of Proud and Powerful, of the formerly known as LAX, who reposted my article on the 10 greatest AEW Dynamite matches of their first year. Happy congratulations to All Elite Wrestling on their 1-year anniversary. We're going to talk about AEW Dynamite and WWE NXT from this week, but first we have to shout you guys out, our Tru Heel roll call, where we thank you, our subscribers, our viewers of the podcast, our listeners, and everyone supporting us on social media. Our top 3 conversation starters on the Tru Heels group page. Coming in at number 3 is the New Japan aficionado James Wims. Coming in at number 2 is Argino Bissoni from Ramblin' Mania, a pretty cool podcast there. He's number 2 on our Tru Heel Trinity. And coming in at number 1, Mr. 83 Weeks, Goldberg Streak, the Negro Buck, Nick Jackson.
Shit, he trying to go for 173-0, baby. He's trying to go for that 173 mark. Like, he done with 83 already.
I think we're approaching. I think if he makes it to Tru Heel Heat 100, we're gonna have to put his jersey in the Raptors and retire him, because he is blowing everyone out the water when it comes to coming in at number 1. Our Tru Heels that we got to shout out: Cody Thornton, Luke Walsgrove, Ian Reagan, Jason Goodman, and a new follower over on Twitter is Debs Harley Mitch. So Twitter's been blowing up. We just hit 450 followers on Twitter, so we're growing slowly but surely. We're gonna hit that 500 mark pretty soon. So Twitter is growing as well. Our YouTube subscriber highlight, of course, we have the king of the comment section, Kayfabe Tactus. He commented on G1 Climax nights 13 and 14, a part of J News Japan. Seriously, New Japan is on fucking fire right now. Even their young lion matches are killing it every night, with Yoda the Medium being the new guy. When the only complaint on a wrestling show is the lack of people there are two women, then you know you've got a good thing going, but not as good as you all, who continue to make me smile every time I get to hear your opinion on things I enjoy. Keep up the good work. Thank you so much, Kayfabe Tactics. We always appreciate your feedback and comments in the comment section. Steve Salvage, the good brother, one of our admins on the Tru Heels group page, he says, hard to have a great video package for Jericho when the WWE owns so much of his highlights. You can mention some of it because you can't see any of it on AEW. And that was him commenting on Wednesday Night Warriors with Romeo and Chris G. Kwame Shafir commented on Tru Heel Heat 95. This man clearly doesn't care about the safety of people, let alone his performers, because at the end of the day, the performers are nothing more but glorified circus animals to make him money. And he famously said in that 2000 promo on Raw, it's all about the money. And that statement 20 years later rang so true today. That was a part of us talking about WWE possibly going back to full capacity shows. And Kid Get Money talking about Joints and Jabroni number 12, blunt fired up, ready for the show. Of course, you always have to have a blunt ready when you're watching Joints and Jabronis, and maybe a lot of people should have had a blunt ready for a long weekend, because what we miss is GCW's The Collective Weekend, a celebration of independent pro wrestling, a celebration of pro wrestling in general. It was 12 huge shows across 3 days, 4 shows per day for GCW The Collective in Indianapolis. A great weekend for independent professional wrestling, highlighted by For the Culture, featuring all minority wrestlers. This show had Tuco Scorpio versus AR Fox. It had ACH versus Lee Mortiarati. It had AJ Gray versus Desmond Xavier, JTG versus Trey Miguel, and more. I watched this show, and this was one of the best independent shows I've seen all year. Lee Moriarty is one performer that I hadn't seen that much of, but he's honestly one of the best technical wrestlers I've seen in quite some time. AJ Gray is the performer that put this whole show together, getting so many minorities from past, present, and future together on one impactful show. And he had one of the best lariats I've seen in quite some time and took off Desmond Xavier's head. JTG looked great. He looked like he hasn't missed a step. But most of all, Tuco Scorpio at 54 years old hit a flip leg drop followed by a moonsault leg drop at 54 years old on AR Fox.
What?
Yes, a moonsault leg drop. Yes, go out of your way. It's a gift going online on the Twitter machine, on social media. Go out your way and watch that. It's on Fight TV, so it's available for a very low price. I think it's like $10-12.
So
I say get for the coach.
That flipped to a sitting position.
Yes, he did.
That sounds incredible.
Yeah, it does.
54 years old.
That's some straight WWF No Mercy shit.
I just have to keep saying 54 years old. But this weekend also had...
What the fuck are we doing with our lives? Like, I don't even think we can jump off the top rope right now. And, like, good Lord. All right, I'm going to the gym as soon as we're done with this podcast. I'm going to just go right down my room right over here. It just gets to work. This is crazy.
Just puts it into perspective when certain 50-year-olds can't put on good matches anymore. It's possible. That's really all that says.
Looking at you, dead man. Anyway,
Triple H shade too. We're talking about that Triple H shade too, son.
Effie's we had Effie's Big Gay Brunch as well, bringing all LGBTQ community together, all professional wrestlers from those type of backgrounds coming together for one show. Very inspiring show there. You had Joey Janela's Spring Break, which was 4.5 hours long. It was like a WrestleMania within itself. Freelance Underground from Chicago, the good brother there. StatKing is a big fan of Freelance. They were on this GCW Collective, as well as Josh Barnett's Bloodsport, featuring Jon Moxley versus Chris Dickinson in the main event. No ropes, no turnbuckles. This was pure wrestling and MMA style professional wrestling there, and there was a lot more. But we have to talk about coming out of the weekend. There was a lot of controversy and the stuff to talk about. First of all, there was a huge outbreak of the virus, with several fans reporting themselves as being sick, as well as independent wrestler Dan the Dad admitting to testing positive for the virus. Up to, reportedly, by the time of this recording, up to 3 different wrestlers have tested positive for the virus coming out of this weekend. Dan the Dad competed on the Glory Pro show, teaming with Ali Klatt to verse Top Flight and Gay Tactic Panic. And also reported coming out of this weekend, there was a dispute with Ethan Page and the GCW owner Brett Lauderdale concerning trading cards that were sold before the show. Ethan Page got into a very public dispute with Joey Janela, which we talked about on Tru Heel Heat 95, but him and Brett, the owner of GCW, got into a big dispute at one of the shows that was seen and reported on by Fightful Select. And a gear maker, lastly, has accused Logan Stunt, GCW wrestler and brother of AEW star Marco Stunt, of sexual misconduct in our latest Speaking Out scandal. So I know you guys didn't see a lot of the shows, but hearing all of that news coming out of it, what are your thoughts? I know, StatKing, you are familiar with Dan the Dad, so what's your thoughts on him testing positive and other wrestlers out of this weekend?
It's going to affect a lot of shows and a lot of promotions. Just offhand, you've got Jon Moxley was there. You have Marco Stunt, so that's AEW's affected there. Chris Dickinson, whether or not how they stagger tapings with UWN and NWA on Primetime Live, he's part of that brand and part of that company there. Kylie Ray, that could affect Bound for Glory with her title match against Deonna Purrazzo. So it's just a huge fallout. It's just a reminder to everybody that while things are starting to open back up, you have to be as safe as possible. And there is, I understand for some of these guys and girls, this independent wrestling is their main source of income. But if you know you're positive, you cannot risk going to these shows and performing, as much as it may affect your livelihood. This is people's lives at stake. So, yeah.
How about you, Top Guy JJ? What are your thoughts on this Speaking Out allegation against Logan Stunt in a gear maker kind of getting into the crossfire? I want to give her credit. I'm not going to state her name to give her some type of ambiguity, but she came out in public on Twitter and really wanted to speak out because, she didn't want anyone else to be hurt, but Logan Stunt kind of being involved in this and any fallout that's going to have on Marco Stunt as well. What do you think about this latest Speaking Out allegation?
I definitely applaud the courage that continues to happen in this professional life, because you see this is probably a norm that happens across all of these companies, and the fact that there's a little bit more courage that comes out to even put these people in a spot to be held accountable, like whether it's a ripple effect, because now this is going to affect people that they connect with, or people that they do shows with, people that they tour with, brands that they might do a one-off show with. It provides a serious level of accountability, and now you just need to just behave normal. Like, what is so wrong with behaving normal? Like, why can't we just go to shows, go to work, do our thing, have a night out with the guys, and not do anything disturbing or disruptive to our opposite counterpart. Like, why does things have to get to this point? But I'm really glad that the courage is being built for more and more women to speak on these things. And the fact that I'm actually glad that the name hasn't been, if the name has been provided, I apologize because I haven't heard the name. But if the name hasn't been provided, I actually kind of like that, because that enables other women to still kind of have the same approach, but put people on the spot. Because this is a real thing that's happened. It's a real thing that's been happening. It's just been happening since the 40s and 50s. It just continues and it translates on into we're 2020, for crying out loud. So this stuff needs to be put in check, and people really need to understand that there needs to be serious consequences for their actions.
There's always been that kind of, carny aspect to wrestling, and that kind of, these are people from various walks of life who are not always accepted for who they may be or how they feel or their perspectives on the world. And so the part of the carny aspect of it is that this is supposed to be a safe space. It's supposed to be a place where people can express themselves safely, securely, and not be worried about anything happening, especially something like this. So again, like, it's just like, as Top Guy's saying, like, it's just something that we need to consistently be better at, and knowing that we need to be out there for other people, to keep your eyes and ears open when you're going to these shows. If you see something, say something. Like, that's like the biggest thing that you can do.
Yes, I can't.
The wrestling community shouldn't be something that even has that in our language still.
Yeah,
like we are supposed to be treated as a serious entertainment entity. We're not a cult anymore. This is a global grand scale of performers that is all across the globe. So this is not some in-house shit that just needs to be kept in-house. No, like, you guys want to be looked at and viewed as real athletes, real people, real superstars, then act like it.
Yeah.
Because you don't hear the real sports, the real giants of the world that has these cases. And when they do have them, it makes a global scale, and that image is on you for the rest of your life. And it should be no different with professional wrestlers.
You guys are on point 100% on both of those topics. I just want to stretch to anyone watching Tru Heel Heat that went and had a great time at the Collective in Indianapolis, whether you are part of the staff, whether you were in the crowd, or even wrestlers that watch our podcast. Please get yourself tested. Go to your nearest virus testing facility and make sure you're safe and quarantine. I just want to stress that most of all, and also keep your fellow wrestling fans safe. We talked about this on our Speaking Out episode when that first big movement began, but we can't stress that anymore. Please keep your fellow wrestling fans safe. So we got to move on, guys, and talk about G1 Climax 30, what we missed from this past week. We missed nights 13 through 16. Night 13, I want to say, in my opinion, was the very best professional wrestling show of 2020. It is probably one of, to many people, the best night of the entire G1 Climax 30, in my opinion. We had Jeff Cobb defeating Ishii in an absolute banger of a matchup. We had Ibushi defeating Suzuki in a fantastic contest. Uncle Dave Meltzer said it was like a real fighting sequence in a live action movie, and Okada overcame Shingo in one of the best matches of the tournament. In my opinion, this sealed up Shingo Takagi being my MVP for the G1. Night 14 featured Goto defeating Tanahashi in an upset. We had Evil over Naito, as we all called, as we were all four of us on the panel predicted. Evil did defeat Naito to get the tiebreaker in the B block. Night 15 had Jeff Cobb defeating Will Ospreay in a great speed versus power contest, and back-to-back Jeff Cobb proved Top Guy JJ wrong with two huge victories. We had Jay White defeating...
Motivation for him, damn it. Motivation for Jeff Cobb. I've been shitting on him for the entire year, and my man is coming through big big at the end of the climax.
It's the
big
top
wins
guy.
for Jeff Cobb.
It's the top guy effect.
Just saying, like, shit, you know, he's a special talent, man. I was tired of seeing him losing all these big matches, man.
We had Jay White defeating Minoru Suzuki in a fun encounter. We had Okada defeating Ishii in a hell of a main event. Night 16 had Naito overcome the Sublime Thief Toriano. We had Evil beating Goto and Sanada defeating Tanahashi in a thrilling main event. So as we go into the final 3 nights, we have 4 guys in contention in the A block, 3 guys in contention in the B block. So StatKing, I know you caught up on the G1. What stood out the most to you? What match or which performer stood out this week to you?
One of my favorite matches has been the Kazuchika Okada with Shingo Takagi. That was just phenomenal, and I think it's what I liked about it is this G1 has kind of shown that growth with Shingo Takagi, where I think New Japan knew bringing him in from Dragon Gate. Yeah, they knew that the crowds would be familiar with him, but they still had him start out in the junior division. And they slowly brought him up to speed to the point that now when he's in these matches, it does feel like he's a legitimate contender to beat anybody at any point in time. And that's something that's just phenomenally well done. And yeah, he may not be at that point where he can beat an Okada, but next year he could definitely be in a position. And that's one of those things that you're kind of already, while you're watching these things, you're already thinking, wow, this is what they can do next year, what they can do coming out of this. That's something that's always incredible with New Japan. So that's something I've always liked about the G1, just seeing where they're going to go with it.
Absolutely. I've been doing the reviews for Sportskeeda for the G1, and only 2 matches I've given the 5 stars, the full boat as they call it, as regard to the G1, and both of them involved Shingo Takagi, and the second one was against Kazuchika Okada on night 13. Night 13 had, in my opinion, a 4.5 star matchup with Ibushi and Suzuki. 4 stars with Ospreay versus Taishi, and Taishi's been a most improved candidate. And then also you had a Cobb and Ishii in one of the most. This is probably the most that's gotten like the most critical acclaim from different fans as well as analysts. Cobb versus Ishii, and that was only the first block match of night 13. So it was like after that match, you were like, can the rest of this card keep up with what's about to happen? And it did.
One of the things I love, speaking of Ishii, is where he'll just back somebody into the corner and then just stand there, and he won't. And it's not a situation where he's interfering with them. So the ref's like, okay, you gotta let them out of the corner. He's just standing there and holding on and blocking them. He's just like, yeah, hit me. No, hit me. Come on.
We've said it on a few Tru Heel Heats in a row. He is like the video game boss, where it takes several hits for him to even sell anything. Where you have to hit him, boom, 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 and then the bar goes a little bit down.
It's like you got to break the stun meter first. You got to break the stun meter first, and then you start to take his energy down.
It's so much fun to watch Ishii at work, and he's been one of the standout performers, one of the MVP candidates. It's probably between Ospreay, Shingo, and Ishii for the best performer. The B block, it's down to current and former LIJ members in the B block. We're going to do our predictions later on, but what's your thoughts on the current and former LIJ members in Naito, Sanada, and Evil being the last 3 in contention in the B block? Top guy JJ.
It actually is pretty interesting, and I like the fact that Evil is still very relevant in here. Like I like the fact that since he lost the titles, that he's still a key player in this climax, because sometimes when you lose a belt that quickly, you tend to fall off. And I like the fact that he's still involved with 2 of the biggest names in the entire brand. So I love it.
Well, to give you a little bit of tease for later on in the show, Evil's the only one in the B block that controls his fate. All he has to do is win. He's the leader. He's the leader going into the final block night. So I
absolutely love that. I love when they are able to keep somebody strong, even in defeat. He has still been able to maintain a solid look to his, potential resume, because he's still got a chance to go right to January. He's got a good chance of that. So that's what's up.
See, and we were kind of skeptical of Naito winning the title back so quickly, but it seems like they are still motivated and concentrated on building up Evil, so that's a good thing to see. So we got to move on to SmackDown and Raw this past week.
Take notes.
We got to talk about the SmackDown and Raw this past week. We will talk about all of the moves in the WWE Draft in our top news, but yes, we do. SmackDown, we had the big dog, the Tribal Chief, not the Tribal Chief, your Tribal Chief, my Tribal Chief, our Tribal Chief, Roman Reigns challenge Jey Uso in an I Quit Hell in a Cell match with another great promo from the Tribal Chief. But in probably the bigger news for the show, negatively probably most of all, Lars Sullivan made his return, attacking Jeff Hardy, Matt Riddle, and Miz. Lars is back and not in good graces with many people behind the scenes, as it was revealed this past week that he made sexual advances online to a yoga instructor, which has led to many people not liking him backstage, but of course Vince McMahon still does. This follows Lars Sullivan it coming out that in the past he's made racial and homophobic comments on online streams before he became a WWE superstar, as well as a stint in pornographic media, and apparently he hasn't learned that much, because the sexual advances that he made to this yoga instructor online were actually very recent. So what's your thoughts on Lars Sullivan being back on WWE TV and mirrored in this controversy, StatKing?
So my thing is this: if you let's say you've made some mistakes in the past, if you've truly changed, you're going to do your best not to make those mistakes in the future. And even if you haven't changed, if you want job security, you're not going to make these mistakes in the future. This is to reference something else happening in the news. This is somebody shooting somebody in the foot. Like, this is just, it's stupid. You're on the precipice of getting back to where you were. Why would you, do these sorts of things? And even if the timeline isn't where him saying these things or having this interaction is that close to when he just came back, this entire time you should have been on your best behavior regardless. Assuming you didn't learn your lesson. Assuming you're just out there for self-preservation. So, I guess he's banking on the fact that Vince McMahon likes big sweaty men. Like, that's like, I don't know, like that's his, that's the number one thing working for him, I guess. So yeah, we'll see what happens with Lars Sullivan being back on TV.
Top guy JJ, what's your thoughts?
Do we really need to have thoughts on this scumbag? So basically what they ended up doing was really, so they say he grows a beard, looks even more like a fucking perv. And then he comes back, literally rinse, wash, repeat his same ass shit that it was from last year. Comes out, washes the ring. He hasn't had a good match since he's been with the company yet. So it's like, what is the purpose of this? Like, why is he here? Wrestling does not need him at all. He is literally a waste of an entrance, a waste of time, a waste of my eyeballs watching any program for 3 to 5 minutes, because that is literally all he's good for. And as soon as he's back on the scene, he's doing what he's been vilified for to begin with, and he just doesn't know how to fucking stop. Like, so this is the problem that I'm saying when it comes to this realm of this cult that they feel that they're in. Like, this is the life. This is that wrestling life. No, the fuck it's not. This is real life, and you are a normal person just like the rest of us. It doesn't make you any bigger. It doesn't make you any better. So when you want to make these advances and you want to actually, like, forget what year we're in, you want to forget the year that we're in, and still be this same. You could see where he came from. You could see where he was raised. You could see where he grew up at. It's just a disturbing thing. And now he's back on television because as StatKing said, he's big, he has muscles, and he's somebody that can probably challenge or fight Big E at some point. Like, is really just thinking about story ahead of what he can potentially do when no one is fucking interested. No one cares. No one cares about this man. So why the fuck is he on TV? And he's been on TV twice a week, every fucking week.
Yep, even back last year, and now we're back to the same thing. Hopefully it stays on Friday nights and I can turn the channel when he comes on. But we have to move on. Bayley got herself disqualified also on SmackDown in the first match between her and Sasha Banks. This sets up their matchup at Hell in a Cell inside the steel structure. Kofi and Xavier Woods returned to SmackDown and won the SmackDown Tag Team titles over Nakamura and Cesaro. We will get to the fallout from that match shortly in our top news. Raw, we had the StatKing's brother from another mother, his cousin from another mother, I don't know how you say that one, but Mustafa Ali was not on this Monday Night Raw this week, and Retribution. We did not get the explanation promo from Ali, and this was the third week without Raw Underground. What's your thoughts, StatKing? I don't think we asked you the last time you were on. I think we just asked you what was your general opinion from what you saw. But what's your thoughts on Mustafa Ali being the leader of Retribution and the fact that he wasn't on Raw this week to get his explanation of why?
So at first I hated it because Mustafa Ali is somebody to me that is born to be a babyface. Like, he just has that personality. But the more I thought about it, it did make sense, because that's the kind of person that when you never think they're going to become a heel and they do become a heel, it automatically adds credibility to whatever they're being a heel for.
Yeah.
And on top of that, I don't think this was planned. I don't think that I think it was just Vince rewriting the script and them cutting time for Mustafa Ali giving the explanation for Retribution. But how he has handled that on Twitter has been absolutely phenomenal. When, people are saying, we were supposed to get this explanation. Why didn't you give us this explanation? And I didn't even know that had happened. And I'm just seeing the exchange on Twitter, and he's saying, oh, it does kind of suck when things are promised to you and then they just doesn't happen. Or, something to the effect of, because I remember when Retribution debuted, and I'm looking at the names, so I'm like, this is just stupid. And I remember, we talked about it, and I'm talking about it with others, how stupid the names are. And, to think that how he was able to twist that, because when he first debuted in the Independents and going through the Independents, it was Prince Ali, and he had a negative, stereotypical foreigner gimmick. And he changed once he realized what that effect was having on people, what they thought about people of his skin color, of his ethnicity, and how he could be a positive change. So now when people are making fun of the names, he went on Twitter and he said, yeah, imagine judging people because of names. And just the way he's able to twist it, I don't even like Retribution. I think the concept of Retribution is absolutely horrible, but now I want them to win everything. Because and maybe that's just because I'm a Mustafa Ali mark, but like at the same time, he has the best heel. The best heel is somebody who believes they are the hero of their own story.
Yes.
And he believes he's the hero of his own story. That's incredible. And so he's now going to be able to take these guys that are horrible Bane ripoffs and turn them into something that is actually good. And that's always great to see.
I totally agree with you. Top guy JJ, we will get into it on the top news. Like I keep saying, he made a call for somebody to come over to Monday Night Raw that will probably bring this whole story with Mustafa Ali and Retribution. So that's a little teaser for what's to come. Also on Monday Night Raw, we had Lana became the #1 contender for the Raw Women's Championship. Top guy JJ, what's your thoughts on Lana going week after week through a table by Nia Jax, and then they throw her this bone of becoming the number one contender in the main event of probably one of the most drawing Monday Night Raws of the year with the draft. She wins the main event and is the number one contender to screw up the people's theory that they're punishing her because Rusev or Miro is with AEW.
You know something? In the moment, I absolutely hated it. But when I slept on it, I absolutely loved it. and reason being, right, is because everyone and their mama knew that Charlotte Flair was coming back to win the Battle Royal. Like, everyone knew it. It was a foregone conclusion that this was definitely going to happen. You know, the swerve is in play. They put all these women in there so Charlotte can wash them up. Guess what? Charlotte wasn't even in the goddamn match. She wasn't even in the motherfucker. So this is what you call getting swerved. Like, swerved. Like, you just got... This is the type of decision that they know is going to piss you off. They know this decision is going to piss you off, and it fucking worked. I loved it. I absolutely loved the troll job that they did with that, because they know good and damn well Lana ain't winning the match. She's not winning it whatsoever, but this is just like, haha, you motherfuckers think y'all know everything, right? Here's a bone. Here's Lana, the one that's been fucking getting her ass beat for the past month, and she's going to get a title shot for it now.
Hey, now. Nobody thought Jinder Mahal was going to beat Randy Orton after he won his Battle Royal number one contender.
Don't hinder Jinder, you bastards!
Why do you have to remind me of that dark time? That
Thank you for coming.
50th WWE champion in history.
Thank you for coming to my Jinder Mahal TED Talk.
That dark time in the WWE.
Hey, I was there personally for that, all right? For that dark time.
I know. Drew McIntyre and Randy Orton got into a show-long brawl on Raw as well. We saw the return of Elias. We saw Ricochet defeat Cedric Alexander in his last match against the Hurt Business by using the Eddie Guerrero trick and he did it in Will Smith style in Fresh Prince when he was in the church, if you remember that episode. So yes, it was a great play right there, but that was all from Raw. Impact Wrestling had Rich Swann announced he has cleared for Bound for Glory as he saved Scott D'Amore from a beatdown at the hands of Eric Young. We had Gallows defeat Fulton in a no disqualification main event matchup. We had Kylie Ray defeat Kimber Lee. We had Rhino get Heath a spot in the Call Your Shot gauntlet. With either one of them winning, Heath gets his contract, but if they both lose, Rhino loses his contract. And finally, Moose bloodied EC3 at a bridge and takes back the TNA Heavyweight Championship. Very quickly, StatKing, what's your thoughts on Rhino being the best friend in professional wrestling, risking it all for his good friend Heath?
Yeah, that's really, despite everything else that happened in the show, that's the one thing that stuck out to me the most. Like, they always say, like, there are no true friends in professional wrestling. Everybody's going to turn on somebody in the backstabbing, this, that, and the other. But right here, Rhino put everything on the line for his friend Heath. Everything on the line, because he knows that Heath has kids, and he knows that he's got to help his friend. He was the one who brought Heath over and said, hey, we can get you a contract here, and then now they run into all these roadblocks. So for him to put his job on the line is just, my goodness. What can be said? Tune into Dark Power.
That's what can be said.
Yes, indeed.
That's what can be said. Cheap plug. So,
learn it from the best. Learn it from Mr. Mick.
So that brings us to our top news, and of course that is WWE Draft 2020 Fallout, and the headline of it all for either night, of course, is the New Day splits up. This week was the WWE Draft 2020 on SmackDown. The most noteworthy move was Raw and the USA Network drafting the new SmackDown Tag Team Champions Kofi Kingston and Xavier Woods, followed by SmackDown picking Big E to split apart the New Day. We also saw Seth Rollins, Murphy, and the Mysterios moved over to SmackDown. We saw Otis goes to SmackDown while Tucker goes to Raw, splitting up Heavy Machinery as well. AJ Styles, Naomi, Miz, and John Morrison, as well as Drew Gulak moved to Raw, while Bianca Belair moved to SmackDown. Also, Kalisto went to SmackDown, while Gran Metalik and Lince Dorado picked up by Raw, splitting up the Lucha House Party. On Raw, Street Profits moved to SmackDown in the first round. So Adam Pearce, our unofficial authority figure, has Street Profits and the New Day swap titles because the Raw Tag Team Champions can't be on SmackDown and the SmackDown Tag Team Champions can't be on Raw, so they swap titles. No hand sanitizer or anything. One of the most hilarious title changes I've seen in quite some time. The Fiend is your top pick for Monday Night Raw, as well as Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross being moved over as well. Retribution are picked in the third round by Raw for reasons, I guess, with Mercedes Martinez reportedly being dropped from the stable. She was not a part of the graphic that showed the group, so apparently Mercedes Martinez is not in Retribution and may be moved back to NXT. Braun Strowman, Matt Riddle, Jeff Hardy, Elias, Eric of the Viking Raiders, and Sheamus all go to Raw, while Kevin Owens, Lars Sullivan, Apollo Crews, Dolph Ziggler, Bobby Roode, Selena Vega, Billy Kay, Natalya, and Aleister Black all moved to SmackDown. Andrade and Mickie James are the only undrafted talents. It was reported by PW Insider that both of those individuals will be picked up by Monday Night Raw, and later it was revealed that Andrade will have elective surgery, which will put him out for 1 month after he did tease that he would be moving over to NXT. So, Top Guy JJ, I will start with you. What are your overall thoughts on the WWE Draft 2020?
If they do not just carry the same old storylines from Monday to Friday and Friday to Monday, because that's basically what happened with the drafts, is that they literally took Monday stories and put them on Friday, and Friday stories and put them on Monday. If they make them go in different paths, you will feel two different shows. But knowing the WWE, they're going to keep a few of these stories together and just change the nights up. Yeah. Now, one of the things that I was calling for the entire draft, which I absolutely loved, and is to just build on that Retribution story. I'm loving what I saw when I was like, Kofi just... holy shit, this actually happened. Like, it actually, I was like, yo, I was just like throwing a whim out there for that shit. And now Kofi's on Raw. And then literally a few days later, you saw Mustafa tweet, "Hey, Kofi." Like, it was like, oh shit, this shit is really happening. Like that would make this whole draft phenomenal. If this act, because this can drag out for months. Between Mustafa's story and then how because this is one is going to create some amazing fucking matches. It's going to create some really good matches between Kofi and Mustafa, because you already know that they can both go in the ring for quite a while. I'm looking forward to that. And the Fiend and Alexa just fit. Like, they look like they just fit on Raw. Like, it looked seamless. So I liked what I saw from the beginning. I did call that this was going to be the weakest draft, which I still stand. This draft really hasn't done anything really. They literally made the picks and then they just moved on. Like, there was no thought on the picks. You just saw a glimpse of it. You saw the picture and then they moved on. The draft, it had no impact. They didn't make it seem like it was impactful at all as to what was really happening to these superstars. It was just like basically next man up, next picks up, nothing to carry it, because when they used to get drafted, you used to get something, used to get some meat with it. Yeah. You used to get an entrance, you used to get something to go with it. Now they just pictures and move on, pictures move on. It felt lifeless. The draft felt lifeless. But if you think about the names that's moving over, there could be a lot taken from this. But the draft felt lifeless.
So, StatKing, what's your thoughts on the New Day splitting up? Did you like the fact that the USA Network chose to pick just Kofi and Xavier and not the entire New Day, the way they were drafted and split apart? And do you believe that Big E needed to be separate from the rest of the New Day to get this push that everybody's been talking about?
I don't think Big E needed to be separated because Kofi didn't need to be separated. However, at the same time, if the purpose of separating them is to, and this is not a knock against Kofi or Xavier, but to remove the powerhouse from New Day and then put Kofi and Xavier up against Retaliation, where they not only are going to
Retribution.
Retribution.
Only one of them is Retaliation.
Yeah.
Only one person.
And she's now back in NXT. Retribution. If that was the purpose, to remove that powerhouse, and then automatically, even if Big E had been there, they would be at a numbers disadvantage. But now to remove the powerhouse, that just adds something really interesting to the storyline. Will New Day look to maybe recruit a new member? Will that be part of what's going on there? Maybe, maybe not. I doubt it. But just that aspect of what could happen, that I think kind of makes it so that both of them, while they are separating them, they're both starting off with strong storylines. It's going to be Big E. You don't want them to be separated, but if they are going to be separated, Big E's going to be on a solo run, and we're going to see Kofi up against Mustafa Ali, who is going to be fast becoming one of the top heels on Raw, but for The Fiend showing up there. So that part of it, you never, some teams you don't want to see break up, but for them, it had just been so, how many more times can they win the tag championships? It's just, and to the point that now they're literally just handing them over to somebody and getting tag championships in return. In one of the dumbest things I have heard or seen in such a long time. I remember a time when they had the draft, and all of a sudden the Intercontinental Champions on a different brand, the U.S. Champions on a different brand, and there's a pay-per-view coming up where the titles could switch back, or they could stay on one brand. I remember a time when both world champions were moved to one brand, and there was suddenly going to be a SmackDown championship that JBL's trying to win because there's no world championship on SmackDown. You could have built-in ways to build these storylines out, and on top of this, you could have situations where, let's say somebody from Raw is trying to get the Raw Tag Championships from Street Profits, and they fail. And you have somebody fail to get them from the SmackDowns from New Day. Well, now going into Survivor Series, where it's brand versus brand, you can ask them, well, you're the Raw champions, but you're on SmackDown. Where are your loyalties? And you can ask the SmackDown champions the same thing, and they're now going to be facing each other. So I think they had the possibility to create some really interesting stuff to take us through the end of the year, but they just kind of, I don't know, as is usual WWE fashion, just kind of hot-shotted it and moved it a little bit too quickly than they needed to.
That was actually an interesting way to get around that those draft moves that I hadn't heard as of late, like using the Survivor Series as a storyline plot for the different brands being on the different brands with the tag team titles. So that was a good point right there by StatKing. Top Guy JJ, who do you consider the best initial move from the WWE Draft?
Oh, absolutely. The winner of this draft, and he wasn't even drafted to Raw, to me, was Mustafa Ali. The storyline that he's about to inherit is going to catapult him to the highest of mid-card status, or it is going to be as soon as Drew drops his title to be in contention just to even be sprinkled into there. Mustafa's role is going to dramatically increase based on what he's going to get out of this story that is coming up in the coming months. Kofi being moved is going to work magic for them. And I still think at some point in time that I believe that Otis is also going to get traded to Raw. I still see Otis getting traded. And once that happens, then I believe that he's going to also be an MVP candidate too. But that's yet to come. But I'm going with Mustafa, and he was drafted technically, but he didn't move.
Yeah. Who would you say out of the people that did move, Brand StatKing was the best initial move?
I think it's going to be The Fiend, simply because pairing him with Alexa for sure, like cementing that pairing, is incredibly strong. And I don't know if we necessarily need, because whatever brand The Fiend's on, unless he's, doing whatever insane thing comes to his mind, he should be going after the top title. And we really don't want to see Fiend versus Roman in that sense, because it's hard to figure out who you want to win, because Roman's now doing the work of possibly his career as a heel, and everybody just loves The Fiend just for the uniqueness of his presentation. So I'd definitely say bringing the Fiend over to Raw is incredible. And just to piggyback off of what Top Guy said, I'm an avowed Mustafa Ali mark, and I've been an avowed Becky Lynch mark since she was before she even signed with the company. It's incredible how, for both of them, injuries are what's going to help propel them to the next level. Because but for Mustafa Ali getting that injury, Kofi Kingston doesn't come in to the picture a year ago, and now we're fast forwarding and seeing what happened. And but for Nia Jax breaking her face, Becky would not have had as big of a run as she did.
And to piggyback off something that you just said, to piggyback off something that you said with that, I've been very, very, as SP knows, I've been very hard on the WWE's booking and movement of Bray Wyatt. This to me was one of the best moves that they've done with him. It's that not only they want to keep him at this super strength level, but I feel that moving him to Monday Night Raw protected him from having to face and deal with and possibly lose again to the hottest thing in the company. Yeah. So I love the move to get him away from that and then insert him into that title picture with a sizzling down Drew McIntyre, because his run is getting kind of long, to what's to possibly come if even Randy Orton becomes champion, because they got history. So I like the turn of events that they have started to do with Bray Wyatt. So I'm actually starting to like what they've done with him. So kudos, keep the shit up, because that Alexa Bliss appearance with him, that double twisted Sister Abigail, was a fucking thing of beauty. Like it was so amazing to see that.
The twisted union is what they call it.
Man, that shit was good.
That's what I'm saying though. Like there's certain writing decisions or creative decisions that they're knocking out of the park. But at the same time, doing things like just having these guys exchange titles, they could have had a situation where a SmackDown team is facing New Day for those SmackDown championships, and then Retribution causes the loss.
StatKing, they're not all the way smart.
They're not all
the way smart, man. They got main card story writers, and that's it, man. They got the main story.
Then you just have the next Raw, Kofi be like, well, I don't understand why you would have done this to me. And then Mustafa's like, well, no shit, you wouldn't understand. But here's why. And that's just kicks it off.
There's only certain things they can get right, but I totally agree with you guys as far as the Fiend, and I think that I've been predicting for how many months for Randy Orton to beat Drew McIntyre. I think that I like the fact that the Fiend and Alexa attacked heels in Andrade and Zelina, because it points to them potentially being baby faces on Raw, and we could get Fiend versus Randy Orton, and he can redeem himself for that atrocity, even though I was the only person that predicted Randy Orton beating him at WrestleMania 33. He can get revenge on that all these years later.
With the roles reversed. Thinking about it from those angles, the draft can be something that turns into a lot of special storylines.
Absolutely. We got to move on to the Wednesday Night Wars. It is week 50 of the Wednesday Night Wars between WWE NXT and AEW Dynamite. We had WWE. Yes, we had WWE NXT 2 weeks after TakeOver 31, while AEW Dynamite celebrated its 1-year anniversary. If you guys missed Tru Heel Heat 95, we gave you our individual top 3 moments of AEW Dynamite's first year, so definitely check that out from Tru Heel Heat 95. You can go on Sportskeeda and check out my top 10 greatest AEW Dynamite matches of the first year, as I said earlier in the show. And of course, if you don't agree with us, this is the time where we decide what was the better show between WWE NXT and AEW Dynamite. If you don't agree with us, check out Wednesday Night Warriors with Chris G and Romeo as they decide what was the better show for the week. But we break down the ratings, we tell you what happened, we decide what was the better show. I don't know if anybody want to take over for Chrissy Love and hit the drums before I give you the ratings for week 50. Thank you.
Damn it!
Thank you, guys. WWE NXT comes in with 651,000 viewers. This is, I believe, slightly up from last week, but definitely below the 700,000 marker. Wow. AEW Dynamite is back up, and it's up a lot to 826,000 viewers for 1-year anniversary. AEW Dynamite wins for, I believe this is the 40th time out of 50 weeks. Wow. WWE NXT had Damian Priest defeat Dexter Lumis to defend the North American Championship after interference from Cameron Grimes. After the match, Johnny Gargano attacked Damian Priest to set up a rematch between Gargano and Priest for the North American Championship at Halloween Havoc. And this also Gargano defeating Austin Theory earlier in the night. Also earlier in the night, Candice LeRae, the wife of Johnny Gargano, defeated Shotzi Blackheart to become the number 1 contender for Io Shirai's NXT Women's Championship at Halloween Havoc. And both matches will be decided by Spin the Wheel, Make the Deal. A legendary storyline, a legendary gimmick from the old Halloween Havoc from the 1990s. Finn Balor had surgery on his jaw and may be out for an extended period of time as NXT tries to decide what they're going to do with the NXT Championship if he is out for a longer time period than they once believed. The Undisputed Era defeated Birch and Lorgan to verse Breezango for the NXT Tag Team Championships next week. Ember Moon cut her best promo to date in a vignette.
I wanted to hear what you was going to say about that.
Yes. I put that in my notes. That was their best promo to date to hype up her return in a vignette. It was a pre-tape promo, to be fair, but it was her best promo. Toni Storm made her in-ring debut, defeating Aaliyah as well. AEW Dynamite celebrated our 1-year anniversary with Jon Moxley defeating Lance Archer in a great no disqualification main event to defend the AEW World title. And then after, Eddie Kingston attacked Jon Moxley to set up a match at Full Gear. It is 2020 and a New Yorker, a Yonkers New Yorker, Eddie Kingston may be in the main event for the world title at AEW's next pay-per-view. Chef's kiss. Cody and Orange Cassidy go to a 20-minute time limit draw in their TNT Championship match. In my opinion, that was the match of the night. FTR defeated the Best Friends in a very fun, solid opener to defend the AEW World Tag Team titles. Miro and Kip Sabian attacked the Best Friends, or as Miro called them, the Good Friends, for destroying his shit, their arcade cabinet during that match. MJF considers slightly, literally, possibly, maybe considers joining the Inner Circle and set up a steak dinner with him and Chris Jericho for next week. Sammy Guevara revealed himself as the person who attacked Matt Hardy all those weeks ago. Shida defeated Big Swole to defend the AEW Women's Championship. A random draw, and probably the lowest point of the show, the random draw for a full-way tag team title contenders matchup for next week. We had a bracket reveal for the number 1 contenders tournament for the AEW World title to be decided at Full Gear, and it will be Phoenix versus Penta El Zero M in the first round. Let's go. And Omega and Page are on opposite sides of the bracket. StatKing, I know you don't watch both shows, but what was your thoughts on AEW Dynamite before me and Top Guy JJ decide what we thought was the better show for the week?
I thought the show overall, top to bottom, was very well done. The Sheet of Swole, I mean, there had to be something that wasn't incredible, like something that has to bring the show down a little bit, and I think that was the Sheet of Swole match and the 4 tag team announcement kind of thing, where it just kind of devolved into a little bit of weird chaos. The Cody OC match was incredible. Again, Orange Cassidy just week after week, just proving why he is one of the most underrated people in just professional wrestling, persons in professional wrestling. His character work, phenomenal. His in-ring work, also phenomenal. And Cody, it always takes 2 to dance, and Cody brings something to the table that it's very hard that somebody else can be very hard to mimic or very hard to do as well. And that was by far a match of the night to me. Very good show. The only thing I thought was, or I kind of felt like I thought maybe they would do something, and maybe, it's just not on the same level to me, but I thought they were going to end with some kind of big-ish, relatively kind of angle or something like that, just to mimic what they did in the first year. But, I mean, can really anything top the formation of the Inner Circle? It's kind of hard to do that. So at the same time, I was like, all right, I think they knew they weren't going to be able to top that, so why even try? But Eddie Kingston just the guy is amazing on the mic, and just how he's able to. He's like, John, we go, no, John, come on, John, like get the world champions belt, get the world champions belt, come on, John, no, we go back. I'm not, it just. Boom! Out of nowhere.
He's such a New Yorker. He's such a New Yorker.
Oh my, yes, I love it. Oh my god.
Maybe it wasn't like the shock that you probably wanted, but I feel Eddie Kingston positioning himself as the number 1 contender going into a pay-per-view is a big angle, because he wasn't here a year ago. He wasn't supposed to be here. He wasn't supposed to be here months ago. He earned every single opportunity that he has gotten in AEW Dynamite. He over delivered against Cody. That's how he got his contract. Now he has a stable with the Lucha Bros. He talks forward the Lucha Bros to one of the best tag teams. They feel important for the first time in a very long time. We're looking forward to there. And then his explanation for those two going at it in the first round as well added to that as well. So Eddie Kingston helped not only the tournament, but he helped out his own storyline with Jon Moxley. So Top Guy JJ, we will start with you. What did you think was the better show, AEW Dynamite or WWE NXT?
Before I answer that question, just help me just remember what was the main event. Damian Priest fought, because I like the match. Dexter Lumis. I think it's unfair. I think this week is unfair. I don't think this week was fair, because hands down, AEW won the week. As far as it was, because I think NXT put on a pretty solid show. I think NXT was pretty solid again this week, but just going up against AEW's 1-year anniversary, knowing the matches that we were about to get, it was going to be top. And AEW put on a damn pay-per-view on a Wednesday. Like they literally had a pay-per-view card on a Wednesday, and the Shotzi Blackheart and Candice LeRae match I thought was actually really good. I thought the main event match was actually really good. Like, NXT had a good show. They had good pieces in there. So I'm not going to downgrade NXT by saying AEW was that much better, but AEW was that much better. Like, AEW's show, just like, come on. Like, Cody, and I've been feeling this way for the past maybe 6 months with Cody is the master right now in wrestling. He's the master of the big fight feeling. He's the master of it. Like, you can see it, like, with his title, with the entrances, the way these things go, like, the way his character is presented. There's a big fight feel every time he seems to come out to the ring. And that entrance theme definitely helps matters, too, because just the whole aura of him makes it feel like something big is coming. And he has been the master at that for months. So that, and then him and Cassidy, like, I don't think even Orange Cassidy's underrated right now. I think Orange Cassidy is getting the props right now that is warranted. Like, he is in a huge angle right now. He's got the big rematch coming in 2 weeks. So SP might be 2 weeks late on his call. He might be 2 weeks late on his call. But it's showing the respect that Orange Cassidy is getting in AEW right now. It has been straight up for Orange. It's been straight up ever since he's debuted there. He has not had a bad angle yet. He's having angles with some of the biggest names in AEW. He just came off of a 2 to 3 month angle with Chris Jericho. Now he's in an angle with Cody. Now he's in line to potentially become the TNT champion. That's not underrated, brother. That is a man getting his due. Like, I know what you're saying, but people will know who the hell Orange Cassidy is at the end of all of this, because he will get that proper due. Not only just from wrestling fans, but people that is common watchers will know who this man is. But AEW just wanted an unfair week, because even the Moxley and Archer match was a little bit better than I thought it was going to be, because I thought that match was going to be pretty ass. I'm not going to lie. It was better than I thought. Way better than I thought. I don't know what the fuck that Young Bucks segment was. I don't know what that shit just looked like. That literally reminded me of a bad SmackDown segment. Like, this shit was just a mess. It was a mess.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean,
that felt very WWE.
Yeah, NXT didn't have a bad show, but AEW just had an unfair week. And I'll leave SP to talk about that steak dinner, because I'm tired of giving these two hand jobs on their promos. Like, I'm tired. I'm fucking tired of it, because what else are you gonna say about these two?
I agree with you. AEW won this week, but very slightly. I don't agree with you. I thought the main event of NXT sucked. It was way too long. It drags. Dexter Lumis, he's a cool character, but his matches feel like 87 hours long. Like, he is not the type of worker you give a 20-minute main event to. I just don't think he is a charisma vacuum when it comes to engaging.
I'm becoming a bigger Damian Priest mark.
I love Damian Priest, and I want him to be in the main event, but Dexter Lumis is just not that guy to be in the main event with him. And I think that is very funny that they are putting the most charismatic guy on NXT in Cameron Grimes against the least charismatic guy on NXT in Dexter Lumis. I just find that a little bit funny. I really enjoyed Candice versus Shotzi. That was a really good TV match, the match of the night from NXT. The opening tag match was really good. And I got the subtlety in the way that Roddy and Bobby were looking at Kyle O'Reilly. Like, Kyle O'Reilly talking about they're going to find out who's behind the whole attack by Ridge Holland. I'm digging the slow burn. Even though the Undisputed Era don't feel quite as hot as they once were, I am liking the slow burn when it comes to that. Those are like the two biggest positives. I like how they're building up Halloween Havoc as well. It's going to be a fun, unique show, and I think that's going to be probably the week that I pick NXT for sure over AEW. Even though on the AEW side, like you guys said, Cody and Orange Cassidy was great. It exceeded all my expectations. I of course predicted Orange Cassidy to win, but that was the best possible way to put him over without him winning. Like the whole finish with him getting worked over his leg, and then he hits the beach break on the apron, puts him back in the ring, almost gets the 3 count. Then he hits another beach break, almost gets the pin. Then they're like rallying him up, saying that he just has to hit the orange punch and he's gonna win. And then his knee buckles, but he still reverses the crosswords, gets the mousetrap, and then the timing of that finish with the referee about to hit the mat for the 3rd time and him win the title, but then the time runs out. Their timing was perfect. That was one of the best finishes of the year from AEW Dynamite as far as a matchup. FTR versus Best Friends was a lot of fun. The only things that were drawing for me on AEW, even though I'm picking them this week just ever so slightly, only because I really didn't like the main event of NXT. I like the angle investment on NXT, and I like the angle investment on AEW, but Miro, he looked good in his little squash. This looked a lot better than his first in-ring match, but the whole arcade thing, they didn't build it up enough for it to be that important to kind of start that whole feud. I do like the best man versus the best friend, so that's pretty cool. That's a cool dynamic, but that just felt a little bit off. They could have built to that a little bit better. The tumbler with the random drawing, why do you have a ranking system? Why don't you just have the 4 other contenders? Because Best Friend was number 1 contender. Just have the 4 other contenders in a fatal 4-way. Why do you need a random drawing out of nowhere with no build up? That was just stupid. It should have not even been the Young Bucks in that match if you're going to do a random drawing, because it seems really obvious that the Young Bucks win. That just felt off. The women's matchup, the timing was just off on a lot of things. I really wanted to like that match more than it was, but the timing was just off on so many different things, and it felt like both ladies kind of lost confidence midway through that match, and it wasn't as strong as it could have been. But I loved the main event. The main event was great. It exceeded all expectation, and it was another match where the challenger looked better than when he went in. They did a lot of work in building up Lance Archer because he missed so many weeks, the attacks backstage to set up the no DQ, and then him coming in, taking the paradigm shift, kicking out at 2 to start the match, taking a paradigm shift through a table and a third one, and still kicking out. That put him over. And then Eddie Kingston, like I said, the highlight of the whole damn show, and my pick for one of the breakout stars, and I know Wrestle Talk said this as well, one of the breakout stars of 2020 is Eddie Kingston for sure. All right, so one more question for you guys. Well, for you, Top Guy JJ, do you think the NXT Championship is cursed following the announcement that Finn Balor may be out for a little bit longer than we first perceived?
So unfucking fortunate, man. Like, the 2 best matches that this man has had in the company has involved in serious injuries. Like, both of them. Like, that SummerSlam match against Seth Rollins was fucking awesome until he got hurt. That match has such a great build, and then he gets the serious injury, which causes him to lose the Universal title. This match with Kyle O'Reilly was a certified banger extreme, as you like to say. And then he gets injured here too, and it's like, God damn. Like, I'm hoping that this is a 2-month injury, and they know how to book a story to develop either whether it's a tournament or something to keep the title on Finn Balor, because he deserves this. This title doesn't need to, like, yo, listen, man, we've had titles that hasn't been defended in months. Like, fucking, why can't the Brock Lesnar rule be put with fucking Finn Balor for one time? One exception. Brock went from fucking WrestleMania to fucking the pay-per-view in July without defending the title one time. So Finn Balor can get the 2-month exception, and they can build a story and a contender around him healing. They have the capabilities of doing this, so they just need to be able to just have faith in this man, knowing that he can deliver as champion, because he definitely has, and don't fucking take the title off of it because of this injury. I'm hoping they don't remove the title, because it would be a bunch of bullshit.
So I have a quick question. Finn, at this moment, is he a face, heel, or tweener? What's his...
I have no clue.
Finn's a tweener. He's done.
He's Finn's just Finn. Then, I mean, he doesn't need to be fully healed in order to beat the crap out of somebody. Like, if it's just a blindside attack.
No, I'm sorry. No, we can't risk anything. We just had one of the next top heels get his whole leg blown out from just a plancha. So no need to risk anything like that.
And if Finn Balor goes from, like in the title of our last podcast, Finn is 0 to 100. Like, Finn doesn't know how to let up. Like, you know, how can you do something like that and let up? Like, that's we're talking about his jaw. So, like, he moves in a certain way, his neck snaps, and he does something. You know, he's gonna be in the moment. So it's like, it's hard to let up when you're in the moment, because you know he's gonna be willing to do it if they ask him to. Yeah. But he's gonna be in the moment.
Yes, we have to talk about the rest of our news. A lot of WWE news coming out of this week. One of the big news of the day we're recording is Bayley ranked number 1 in the PWI Pro Wrestling Illustrated Women's 100 from October 2019 to October 2020. Coming in at number 2 is StatKing's favorite Becky Lynch. Coming in at number 3 is Asuka. Coming in at number 4 is Charlotte Flair, and number 5 Sasha Banks. Hikaru Shida from AEW coming in at number 6. Io Shirai was number 9. And coming up very soon, we will have at the announcement at the end of this podcast of something involving the number 14th ranked women's wrestler in the world, Thunder Rosa, the NWA World Women's Champion. But
disrespect on Shida, damn, yo. The fuck is she done to be number 4?
I think Thunder Rosa was the one that was most disrespected for, because she was the NWA Women's Champion for the last 10 months.
What was Thunder Rosa ranking?
14.
Oh, she's not even top 10. Yeah, that's
she won it back in she won it back in January.
Yep.
That's really ugly.
So
okay.
Also, big news as far as the law is, we got to ask StatKing about this one. Candy Cartwright files a lawsuit against WWE, Gabe Sapolsky, Evolve, and Matt Riddle with claims that her past relationship with Riddle led to her WWE bookings being canceled. We talked about Candy Cartwright and the Matt Riddle saga a couple of episodes ago, but what's your thoughts on this huge lawsuit coming up this past week?
So I know that she had made previous claims, and I know that Matt Riddle he made a video or something to that effect where he kind of wanted to set the story straight or kind of explain his side. And if she, from everything I understood, his video gave a very good explanation and kind of painted her in more of a stalkerish kind of way. So if she's now getting to the point that she is filing a lawsuit, either there is more information that she did not originally reveal, or it seems like a money grab.
No, she originally did reveal that, and then most recently, Matt Riddle filed a restraining order against her, and then there was evidence that came up that he had no grounds to do that, and he withdrew the restraining order.
Okay, so that part I didn't know. Now, with a restraining order, you got to be able to provide backup information for it. So that is going to be the fact that he didn't get a restraining order. That's going to be pretty credible evidence in this what is a civil lawsuit against Matt Riddle, Evolve, WWE. I do think it is kind of interesting that she didn't file the lawsuit until it was announced that WWE had fully purchased Evolve, and that it was now owned by them, because that's, you kind of, in a way, you do inherit liability for when you are purchasing a company like that. So I think that part of it I do kind of find interesting, and originally I'd paired that with his video to say it did seem more of as a money grab to me. But if you're telling me that the restraining order he didn't get, then that does change things a bit. So it's gonna be interesting. There's gonna be a lot of depositions that people got to attend, and I don't know. Look, we'll have to wait and see how this all pans out. But if she is telling the truth, then that's pretty damning for Matt Riddle.
And Jerry McDevitt, the lawyer for WWE, he don't pull no punches. So I pray for Candy Cartwright. But speaking of Matt Riddle, other news came out this week that there is apparent heat between Matt Riddle and Seth Rollins. Rollins saying on the WWE Draft watch along that he would never work with Matt Riddle during SmackDown this past week. The Wrestling Observer newsletter reports that the situation with the traveling for WWE has led several unhappy wrestlers, with one talent noting that this is all part of the third party bans actually with that situation, that there are several unhappy wrestlers, with one talent noting that everyone is mad, but even though they've been mad at WWE several times, they never stand up. It was also noted that female superstars are losing out the most with this third party ban against Cameo and Twitch, as many of them have been able to make decent revenue from the platforms thanks to their fans. Wrestling Observer Radio and Fightful reports that WWE extended the Thunderdome at Amway Center for another month through November. WrestleVotes reports that WWE won't return to their typical live events loop until 2022 as of now. How do you think that's going to affect WWE and their television if they're not going to be traveling for the duration of 2021, Top Guy JJ?
Thank God. Like, thank God. Like, the fuck? Like, if somebody's gonna stop them, let the fucking city stop them. Shit. Like, you want to bring people and talk about, here, get ready to travel in the next month or two. Do we not understand that we are dealing with a spike right now? Like, the spike is right now. It's happening now as we speak. Like, both our respected cities are dealing with spikes right now. So you're going to be prepared to travel in the next month? Like, do we just completely ignore the pandemic? Like, it's like, yo, if Vince catches the shit, he's already in his 70s, so he's already lived a full life. So it's like, he don't care. Like, he literally doesn't care. So I'm glad that he has been stopped. So I'm glad that this now has him having to think of alternate plans to potentially, if to purchase the Amway Center shit, you might need to purchase that shit for another 6 to 8 months. Because thank God that he is not going to be able to travel, and he is not going to put the lives of thousands upon thousands of people in jeopardy. Because you know, if you hear a wrestling show is coming to a city near you, you are going to try to get out. You're going to try and go. And how many podcasts have we done covering their lack of protocols? So thank God. Thank God that this is happening, because the only way that this was not going to happen is by other people not allowing it.
Cultaholic this week reported that Eva Marie will reportedly return and re-sign with the WWE. She was also reportedly backstage at WWE Raw this past week. Paul Heyman did an interview with the New York Post, speculating that our Lord and Savior, UFC Hall of Famer, and the baddest bitch on the planet, Ronda Rousey, may have extended her WWE contract, which is set to expire in April of 2021. John Cena, we gotta say congratulations to, as he has secretly got married to his girlfriend in Florida, Nikki Bella. Aleister Black shoots on WWE Creative in an SI interview with Sports Illustrated, saying that they lost the motive of Black and who he was in NXT on the main roster. Kevin Owens revealed in an interview that he was close to nearly returning to NXT last year, and SmackDown ratings were down to 2.087 million viewers against the NBA Finals, while Raw was up to 1.855 million viewers. And latest breaking news, Daniel Bryan is set to return this Friday on SmackDown. This podcast will probably be out the day after, so you will probably already know that, but as of our recording, apparently he is set to return. This is according to Inside the Ropes. AEW news, Bodyslam.net reveals that AEW is interested in Mance Warner of Major League Wrestling. Dr. Goat Britt Baker caused controversy with Uprock's interview, saying that the fans need to not turn the channel if they want more women on AEW Dynamite. Fightful Select reports that Tino Sabatelli was the NXT reject, referenced by AEW officials as leaking information, including Eric Bischoff as the moderator for the Orange Cassidy-Chris Jericho debate. New Japan news. The next tour for New Japan Pro Wrestling Strong will be called Never, featuring heavyweight competitors versus the junior heavyweights, with Rocky Romero versus Jay White announced as one of the bigger matches. And breaking news, I got this one in the Tru Heel Heat journalist chat. Apparently IWL, International Wrestle League, that was one of the promotions that pretty much outed Will Ospreay as basically Black blackballing the independent wrestler Polydonna, which was a part of the whole speaking out movement, basically validating Polydonna's claims against Will Ospreay and Babe Priestley. They sent out a tweet today. This should be a moment where we stand united in support of those affected by the death of Ryan Smile, as we talked about at the top of the show. Instead, some are ripping into Will Ospreay. To avoid any misconception, we have to clarify something. Will did not contact us directly about unbooking Polly. The venue did. Regardless of your opinion about him, no mistake justifies the hate that Will constantly gets. It's shameful that some people will stop at nothing. What I am asking for is for people to be more considerate of others and be kind. So basically, IWL has basically admitted that they lied during the whole speaking out movement and validated what Polly was saying and pretty much threw dirt on Will Ospreay's name. So that is quite the revelation right there, whether they meant to or not. But that's some big news right there.
I want to piggyback on one thing that you kind of said during those comments right there. Honestly, and this is no shade. This is literally just we keep it 100 with everything that we talk about here. That comment about AEW, if you don't want to turn the channel for us to see more women on AEW, do better. Do fucking better. Because NXT had 4 segments that involved women and they were all great. So 4 segments of women. So NXT had more than half the show that featured women. AEW, do better. Do better.
It's like the one thing that AEW does not do well.
Their tag division's amazing.
Their tag division's amazing.
On the fans.
The mid-card division's amazing. The world title picture's amazing.
Right. So take that shit somewhere else. Don't blame the fans for the lack of women's exposure. Do better.
I totally agree with you guys. So we got to move on to ROH Pure. This past week, the second round kicked off with Jay Lethal beating David Finlay and Jonathan Grisham submitting Matt Sydal. We also saw a vignette hyping EC3's debut and the return of Matt Taven to attack Vincent. Impact Wrestling news, we had RVD and Katie Forbes are no longer with the company. Fightful Select reports that the relationship between the two and the company lasted a lot longer than most thought it would, and Forbes' involvement was seen as a favor to RVD. There's no backstage heat against the two either. PW Insider reports that Joey Ryan has filed a lawsuit on Impact Wrestling for wrongful termination, and this follows Ryan following a lawsuit against his speaking out accuser. So a lot of speaking out fallout this past week as far as with GCW Collective, Will Ospreay with IWL, and Joey Ryan. Other wrestling news, our final notes, Alberto El Patron, aka Alberto Del Rio, was indicted by a grand jury on aggravated kidnapping and sexual assault. Wow.
Yo, another company in this fucking lifetime better never sign him.
Please don't. Cord Bauer of Major League Wrestling announced that they will start filming episodes of Fusion starting in November, and that a select few groups of bands will be allowed to the tapings. PW Insider also reports that MLW plans to return to the 2300 Arena in Philly, and also the company is still building towards a low-key versus King Mo rivalry. So a lot of news coming out of MLW, so stay on the lookout for their return with the restart. And a little note, I was going to say this at the bottom of the show, but since we're talking about MLW, I just dropped my interview with Major League Wrestling Tag Team Champions, the Von Erich brothers. That is up on the YouTube channel right now, so definitely check that out. And finally, our final segment of the show, the final weekend in the G1 Climax 30. It is the A block finals, the B block finals, and of course, the finals of the entire G1 Climax tournament on Sunday. So Friday, First up is the A Block Finals in Ryogoku. We got Yujiro versus Jeff Cobb. Both of those guys are eliminated, so that match doesn't mean that much, but you're going to see Shingo Takagi one-on-one with Minoru Suzuki. If you saw Summer Struggle and Janku, you know these guys are going to have a banger. This probably will have more to do with Suzuki's never openweight championship because both of these guys are also eliminated. The first match of meaning will be an absolute certified banger extreme. Will Ospreay one-on-one with his Chaos brother Kazuchika Okada. If Ospreay wins, he can potentially have a tiebreaker. If Jay White loses, Okada needs a win here, and Ibushi and Jay White to lose in their matches. But who do you got? Okada versus Ospreay. We will start with Top Guy JJ.
Wow. And how many times have we said on Tru Heel Heat that this might be the match of the tournament? Like, how many times have we said this already? Like, this might be the match of the damn tournament. Like, how many freaking times are we going to... What the hell? Like, the combination of matches that has happened in this tournament has been nothing short of fucking spectacular. And this just does not stop. And I have been riding the hottest hand in the tournament. I'm not going to stop. I am continuing with Will Ospreay getting the biggest win yet again because he's had big wins in each spot of the blocks and the wins just keep happening. This one is the biggest yet again. I believe Will Ospreay pulls this off.
This would be his biggest win ever because he is 0-5 against his big brother in Chaos, Kazuchika Okada. So this will be his first win in 6 matches. Who do you got, Ospreay or Okada? StatKing.
So, correct me if I'm wrong. The vibe I've been kind of getting from Will Ospreay has been a little bit more of the, like, kind of full of himself, a little bit more of a hubris kind of aspect. Okay. I'm going with Will Ospreay on this simply because I think they're maybe moving him towards where he may feel he doesn't need Chaos as much. He can do things more on his own. Like just that aspect of it I think is kind of interesting. And Okada's been ripping off those, winning by ref stoppage. So we'll see, but I'm going to put my money on Will Ospreay.
I am going to go with Okada in this one. The story of the whole tournament has him using the money clip for better or worse, win or lose. He has been using that money clip to win matches lately, but I think finally he will pull out the Rainmaker and he will win the A Block Finals. Then we have Ibushi going one-on-one with Taichi. These two men went one-on-one in the New Japan Cup 2020 with Taichi in the victory. It was also Taichi and Zack Sabre Jr. that beat the Golden Aces earlier in the year for the IWGP Heavyweight Tag Team titles. Ibushi needs a win here and Jay White to lose to win the A Block. So who do you got, Ibushi or Taichi? StatKing.
I'm going with Ibushi simply because... If anything else, but for anything else, it puts that much more pressure on Jay White in the final match of the night. So I'm going with Ibushi. I mean, I think Ibushi should win the match anyway, but I mean, it also gives him the ability to get a little bit of revenge on Taichi and Zack Sabre Jr. for taking the heavyweight titles from him and Tanahashi, Dangerous Tekkers. So yeah, Ibushi, I'm going to go with him.
Who do you got, Top Guy?
I listen, man. I can't go against Ibushi no more after surviving Suzuki. Like you survived that. Like it's basically like when you level up in a video game and you get past that middle boss and you just get a little bit stronger, and Ishii just kind of staying the same. I think Ibushi's just a little bit stronger right now, and I just think that he survives another. Like obviously, how does Ibushi survive all of this?
His neck is just.
Like but he's gonna somehow survive this, and I'm going with Ibushi to pull out another huge win.
I'm going different again because it would go against my pick to win this block, but I am going with Taishi to pull the upset here and eliminate Ibushi from the A block. Who do you got in the main event? It is Tomohiro Ishii one-on-one with Switchblade Jay White. Jay White can win the entire A block with a win. He doesn't need anybody else to lose. All he has to do is win to win the block. Who do you got? Jay White versus Ishii. I will start with you, top guy.
I mean, listen, man, you're not gonna call a tournament the J1 and not come out of the block. So I'm definitely going with Jay White to pull this one off. And he's been another very, very super solid performer in this tournament. So I'm going with Jay White to win his tournament, to win his block. This is the J1 for crying out loud.
Who you got StatKing?
Jay White. Gotta breathe. Switchblade always.
I'm gonna go with Tomohiro Ishii. Just so.
We get the theme that we're going with here, right? We go with the theme. So I think SP needs to start off the next round.
So that means you're predicting an Ibushi win of the block then.
No, I said Taishi beats Ibushi. I predicted Okada to win this block, so Okada needs to win, and he needs Ibushi and White to lose. So that's what I'm going with. We got October 17th. The B block finals is Yano versus Yoshihashi. Both guys are eliminated already. You got Juice versus Goto. Tanahashi is already eliminated, and he goes against ZSJ, Zack Sabre Jr. And then we got Tetsuya Naito, the heavyweight intercontinental champion, versus Kenta. If Naito wins and Evil loses, he wins the block. Who do you got? I will start with myself, and I will go with Kenta to eliminate Naito from the B block. Who do you got, StatKing?
I'm going with Kenta as well. It is a rematch of Naito's first title defense coming out of Wrestle Kingdom, and I like Kenta to pick up the win here and maybe be the challenger if they do a kind of King of Pro Wrestling kind of match where somebody from the G1 who has pinned the champion.
Power Struggle is the next show, yeah.
Yeah, if they do that, if they keep that theme but just do it at Power Struggle, then I'd be the one to say Kenta gets the match there. So yeah, Kenta picking up the win over Naito.
Top guy, JJ?
I mean, I got to go with Kenta as well. I mean, Kenta has been also like on my shit list before this tournament, and Kenta has been doing a damn good job during this tournament. So I'm gonna go with Kenta pulling this off. And honestly, I've been saying it from the start. Naito doesn't need this tournament, so these losses aren't really gonna do a damn thing to him. So I'm gonna just go with Kenta pulling off wins because they just need it more than Naito does. Naito's holding the fucking straps for crying out loud.
And then finally, the main event for the entire B block, really, it is Sonata versus Evil, a battle of former IWGP Heavyweight Tag Team Champions, of former members of LIJ together. This one has been building up for a while, and it could decide the entire B block, because if Sonata wins and Naito loses, he wins the entire block. If Evil wins, he just needs to win, and he's in the finals. Who you got, Evil or Sonata? Start with you, top guy.
Man, I'm not going to sit here and give Evil all this praise and not pick him. So, like somebody that, as you said, controls his destiny. So I'm going to go with Evil to keep his hopes alive and pull this off against Sonata, because I just want to see Evil just remain super strong and relevant inside this tournament.
StatKing.
So this is I know I said it before earlier in the episode, but this is just a testament to Gato's ability to book this. Because if Sonata beats Evil, which is going to be my pick, then he has the ability to, if your pick comes through in the A block, he has the ability to potentially finally beat Okada, to be able to go to Wrestle Kingdom to face Naito, his boss, in an LIJ war. If Jay White is the one who wins the A block, but Evil pins Sonata, and Evil goes on, then you have the war between the two Bullet Club head honchos. Either way, it's just going to be incredible, but I'm picking Cold Skull. I'm picking Sonata to finally get the next bump up that he needs to be able to continue to show that he is somebody that they can rely on, somebody that they can put the titles on, to create new stars for that heavyweight title. So I'm going with Sonata.
So finally, we all three have different final matches for the final night 13 G1 Climax 30 finals. So I will start with you, StatKing. Sonata versus Jay White is your prediction for the finals. Who do you got?
And here's where I mean, personally, I would want Jay White to win, but I'm going with that LIJ storyline simply because it's been kind of an LIJ year. And I think that would be capped off at Wrestle Kingdom next year if Sonata goes over Jay White and it's Sonata versus Naito. And that's just, I like that family feud aspect of it. Who wins when the family feuds? Nobody, but we win because we get to watch it all play out. So I'm going to go with Sonata in my scenario.
And I forgot to make my prediction for night 18. I'm going with Sonata to beat Evil. So I would have Sonata versus Okada, and I'm going with Okada to get the victory and go on to Wrestle Kingdom, just because Sonata already got the victory over Naito in the B block. So I think they're gonna say 1 year in the making, another Okada and Naito at Wrestle Kingdom. Who do you got, Top Guy JJ? The Battle of the Bullet Club, Evil versus Jay White.
Listen, man, can't call this tournament the J1 without Jay White winning, baby. It's gonna be an intense one to me. It keeps Evil strongly involved. He's in the finals, but damn it, this is the J1. Got to go with Jay White pulling this out.
All right, and I'm just gonna say I'm only said Okada to win because I already got wrong that Kenta was gonna win the B block already, so I wanted to be at least half right. But I think that more than likely StatKing will be right, and I think Jay White will win the G1 if Okada does not make it out the A block.
The smart choice is a Jay White win to me. My heart wants Sonata to win. J News and I we're just gonna keep picking Sonata no matter what.
Kindred souls. So that is all for Tru Heel Heat 96. A final plug for our lineup. Some big interviews as I teased during this teleclass. Tru Heel's BTR Between the Ropes with the Von Erich brothers of MLW and Bert Vixen of Mission Pro Wrestling are up on the channel right now. Coming up next week, we have a big one. Thunder Rosa, the NWA World Women's Champion. We had a long interview with her this past week that will be up on the YouTube channel next week. Continued coverage of the G1 Climax 30 with videos for night 11 and 12, 13 and 14, and 15 and 16 on J News Japan are up. The latest AE recap, Wednesday Night Warriors, Dark Power, True Rewind, and Joints and Jabronis are all up on the channel, and all new editions of Wednesday Night Warriors, Dark Power, and True Rewind will be up next week or this weekend. And the final, J News Japan, covering the G1 Climax 30 nights 17 and 18 will be up. Our G1 Climax 30 finals roundtable will be up next week. And like I said, that big interview with Thunder Rosa. StatKing, thank you for joining us on Tru Heel Heat 96. Tell the people where they can find you.
Thank you guys for having me as always, and you guys can find me on Instagram. I guess I don't even remember what my username is because I don't use it that often. But I'm on the Tru Heels page and Facebook, and love to chat with you guys there. And as always, Dark Power, you can catch me every week covering Impact, AEW Dark, and NWA on UWN.
Top Guy JJ.
Instagram, you can find me at TrueHeel_Top Guy JJ. At Facebook, you can simply find me as Justin Johnson. You'll only find me. You won't find my Black Panther.
Hey.
Good thing for that. Of course, you can follow the Tru Heels group page on Facebook, Tru Heel Heat on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Our sponsored promotions, Battle Club Pro, Warrior Wrestling, as well as Mission Pro Wrestling on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Our good friends at Uncanny Attractions over on Twitter and Instagram, and our good friends at Wrestling Travel on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. I was this week on Wrestling Travel's Channel's episode 15 of their podcast, so check that out on their Facebook page, as well as wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. YouTube channels like Battle Club Pro, Warrior Wrestling, Mission Pro Wrestling, Thunder Rosa, as well as our good friend Jimmy Macaram, Alex McCarthy, and Chrissy Love's favorite, My Battery is Dying. Of course, you can follow Miss Chrissy Love on Twitter and Instagram and Facebook as well, and listen to Tru Heel Heat on all your favorite audio platforms. So, once again, this coming Wednesday, Wrestle Talks YouTube channel, partner to YouTube channel. You can check me out on Alex McCarthy's Wrestling Daily. That is the next time you will see me, besides right here on the Tru Heel Heat YouTube channel. So until Tru Heel Heat 97, for the StatKing, for Top Guy JJ, it is me, your Tru Heel Phenom SP3. This has been Tru Heel Heat 96. The road to 100 continues. We are signing off until next time.